Our house was at 2417 East Clark Avenue. Old man's sun would tear slowly across the summer sky over what seemed to be right down the middle of our street. Simmering smells out of the lemon blossoms and the jasmine. I'd sit under shady bushes with stray cats on the cool dirt and wait for the first arrivals of the P.W.P party my grandmother was famous for giving every second Saturday of the month. I was 6 years old. Stan was sure to arrive first. He had a mad crush on my mother, so he'd try to impress her by going on beer runs and starting the barbecue and such. Stan drove a metallic green El Camino. He was gigantic, about 6'4", 220 pounds, and his last name was Blood. Stan Blood of short silver hair, huge forearms and hands that were steel strong and wrinkled and rough. He called me Chris the Great and was always trying to convince me to get a degree, even at 6 years old. He drank Coors tall cans, and when he got tanked, he started hugging and kissing anyone within 3 feet of him, male or female. Your basic textbook lovable drunk, and obnoxious to boot. About 6:30 p.m., Bill Rydell would show up, unrushed and ornery as an old gray donkey. He was wrinkled and thin with a big Carl Malden nose. He was a bigwig executive at the Ford Motor Company and drove a beautiful 55 T-Bird convertible, red with white interior. I'd get in and pretend to drive. Bill had been a friend of the family for years. He was my grandmother's boyfriend, more or less. He chain-smoked, drank light beer out of a glass, and always had a hard-ass remark for me when I came around asking my mom for money, for example. "Get a job, you little puke. What are you, crippled?" Or, "You eating again, fat ass?" Yes, old Bill was as cold and mean as the city of Detroit, which is where he was from, but he had a great car. Next to Slither Up was Dan. Now, I'm not sure what he did for a living, but judging by his looks, he was probably directing or producing porno. He was a real sight. Even for 1978, he looked creepy. He had jet black hair like Wayne Newton and was short with a weaselly face and laughed to match. The tip of his nose appeared to have been ripped off and poorly stitched back on. He had a mouthful of teeth a priest would find suspicious. And when he pulled his thin, pale lips over them to give you a big rat-faced smile, you thought one thing: pervert. That and the fact that he couldn't use one sentence without the words naked lady in it. For instance, "I'm hotter than a naked lady," or "This sofa is as soft and comfy as a naked lady," or "This beer is as tasty as a naked lady." But when the words naked lady came out of his greasy mouth, you didn't think of a pretty naked woman with shiny hair and airbrushed skin. You thought of a woman of 50 with greasy red hair and a big fat dimply butt, smoking a cigarette and grimacing at you as if to say, "Come on, fucko, get it over with." To be more specific, Dan reminded you of the type of guy who would end up getting his ass kicked in a place where he'd have no business getting his ass kicked, like a swap meet or church, but no one would care or try to help him. Real yucky. Next to Stumbleby was Pat Lee, who was and still is the most consistently drunk and thoroughly obnoxious lush of all time. Imagine Phyllis Diller on Valium and Whiskey Chasers. She was thin and yellow and screeched every word she spoke. Old Bill hated her, but was always civil for the sake of my grandmother, who needed another female to team up with when a drunken political argument would erupt, which was inevitable. The strangest of this motley group were the Herrings, Jack and Mary Herring. Now, what could be so weird about a couple named Jack and Mary, you ask? Well, they were a married couple that joined singles groups like the P.W.P. Jack was a butcher and easily weighed 320 pounds. He was bald and had a false front tooth that he would remove and fiddle with his tongue in between sentences. His wife was a gin-slurping slut who loved to flirt with Stan or Dan or any man, and hubby Jack would lend a hand, saying, "I like it that way, understand?" flickering his eyebrows and fake front tooth. This being the prime barbecue season, Jack had decided to provide all the goodies, being a butcher shop manager and all. He stole a whole pig from the freezer at work for what he called a South Pacific luau picnic, undoubtedly a title he picked out of some cheesy meat buyer's catalog at the shop. So he and Dan started to dig a pit for the sacrificial suckling pig of summer. They plowed away at the ground, drunk and sweaty, laughing at some crass remark about really getting things swinging, if you know what I mean. Pounding out dirt frantically, they squealed with excitement. like a pair of hyenas burying bones and raw meat in the bloody afternoon sunlight. Long awaited and all too slowly, the evening sky began to stain the sunburned blue day with cool crystal darkness. Inside stomachs were being cooled by beer and chilled carrot sticks and oysters with lime on ice. The pink brick walls that enclosed our backyard glowed red from the sacrificial suckling pig pit dug in the middle of our lawn. And the palm tree, which had glowed red many times before, being it had been there since my grandparents had bought the place and was now 30 feet tall, lit up like a red lion's mane, looking down, doubting, feeling pity. By this time, my mother emerged from the bath, the angel that she was, all soapy sweet and softly dressed, blue eyes lighting up the otherwise dismal room, all the men beginning to sweat and stutter at the sight of her, all the women turning in their seats and cursing her fate in their ugly minds, although they all loved what she was in one way or another. "Well, hello, baby sister," said my grandmother. "Everyone's here." "Oh, boy," my mother said nervously, almost sarcastically, knowing she would be at the center of all the men's lust and all the women's envy. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to give herself. That's the way she was and still is, sacrificing her sobriety and opening up her heart for people to hide in. Beer caps cracking, bottle caps twisting, liquor spilling into anxious glasses, and uneducated sermons on unimportant matters and loud laughing. Soft light on end tables that always captured the smoke rising off green glass ashtrays so hauntingly. Jack is sitting in the middle of his wife and my grandmother on the rocker next to the raging pit of pig meat outside the window. Dan squeals in repulsive delight as my mother spills a drink on her soft white blouse. Sheer, pure, soft laughter and a leap to her feet to go freshen up, much to Dan's protest. "Oh, we all spill a little sometimes. Come on, baby, sit down." Licking his chops frantically, hoping, wishing, lusting. Pig, still roasting. Bill is sitting at the coffee table, statue still, cigarette burning in right hand as he holds his head in his usual jaded manner, trying to wish away Pat, who sits next to him, screeching about her mother's chronic hemorrhoid condition. Stands at the 8-track and puts on Marvin Gaye's Sexual Healing. My mother yelps and comes running out of the bathroom with her vodka tonic spilling to the side, sending that much more liquid magic to our constantly stained green carpet. With an oops and a woo, she sways and twitches, crystal blue eyes bloodshot red like the still roasting pig out back. She closes them and smiles softly at the thoughts in her vodka tonic mind, dreaming of a better life for all of us. Marvin Gaye's voice seducing her into rhythmic euphoria. She wishes for Marvin to come and save her, and sends everybody into dull-minded, lustful stares and immobility. The drunken dancing angel, smiling for the sake of the miserable and lonely, saving them from hopelessness. "Come on, Christian, dance with me." And we swayed and twirled in the cigarette smoke and soft light. And as she held me against her breast, I smelt the vodka on her blouse and breath, and watched her red eyes glow redder from the pig still roasting out back. And the evening stumbled on that way, clock click-clocking, tick-tocking, rick-rocking to the sounds of Marvin Gaye and American Glee, glaring through the streets, stifling softer sounds. American Glee and warm summer winds lulled me to sleep to dream of ice cubes in vodka glasses and bicycle poker cards, pig softly roasting outside. Sunday morning sun, the brightest sun of the morning week, peeled me from between soft sheets, hungry, excited, anxious to play in another Southern California day. I walked into the living room, and the sun showed me what is in my mind the incarnate example of the American dream turned nightmare. Drunken, half-naked adult bodies sprawled across our green-stained magic carpet. Jack, Mary, Bill, Stan, Pat, Dan. Lifeless, regretful, I'm sure. So sorry, so stupid, so soft, so sad. The refrigerator door is half open. There's nothing much inside. My little sister is hungry too, so we go outside and pick oranges off our tree and throw the peels at the now charcoal-colored pig in the middle of the lawn. I guess nobody checked it. It died in vain. Just like the American dream died in my mind that sunny summer morning. But I knew my mother's angel eyes would awake and be white, blue, bright again, and she'd make breakfast for my sister and me and send us off to play. Our stomachs would be full. Our hearts would always be free. I knew that. American dream or no American dream. Pig or no pig.